We will begin with roll call in alphabetical order. Cheryl Caruana. Here. Tim Collins.
Present.
Sean Kennedy. Lisa Murray. Rick Redford.
Here.
Mike Tirabassi.
Here.
And Michelle Boudreau. Aye, here. And I would like to recognize the Hampton Board of Select, the Select Board. Is that right? So thank you for being here, but if you'd like to call yourselves to order.
Madam Chair, I'd like to call the Hampton Board of Selectmen to order. This is being held in the IRC at 6:30 on, what is it, October 10th, 2024.
Thank you. If you please stand. Craig, will you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance? The flag is this way tonight.
To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have the need for executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to conduct negotiations with the HWRSD. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body in the Charter Affairs, middle school makeup days, sick bank. So moved.
Yes.
So moved.
Another second.
Second.
Okay, so we do roll call to go into executive session. Cheryl? Here. Tim?
Yes.
Sean? Motion to go into executive session.
So moved. Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
And myself, aye. We are going into executive session, 6:32.
First home game.
The thing is still not that you would ever say anything, but just in case, I just want you to know it's still live, the YouTube live stream.
I think that was not before that. We used to go up to
Where are you going to mention your phone? Oh, Falcons with a capital F. I think I wrote it down. Falcons with a capital F. 2024.
Which one should I be trying? I was trying guest.
Lowercase f.
That's who you guessed, right? That's what we're trying.
Oh, yeah, we just guessed, yep. Just try Falcon, lowercase f, not capital.
How can?
Falcons, F-A-L-C-O-N-S, Falcons, 2024. Did it work with the lowercase? We have it as 2024. Falcons, they're all lowercase, Falcons. Aaron knows it. Is that-
That's not good. Thank you, Don.
You're welcome. No. Corn. And then the shop.
Did you try it with a lowercase c?
Oh, did you try it, Brian, did you try it with the lowercase c? The chalk one that we tried? Do you have a hashtag in front of it, isn't it? I feel like when I wrote it on.
Hey, Aaron?
Yes. Oh. We'll be changing that password. They're gonna be so happy with me.
How's the hurricane doing? What? Oh, really? Yeah, where the others?
They just had two.
Yeah, property, Fort Myers.
Yeah, water. The whole basin. So this is their first floor. This is all the water level. Here, the water.
Just making me crazy now. No, it didn't work. So it didn't work.
Did the track change hurt them? Were they going to be hit differently if it had stayed going to Tampa?
Yeah, because it went south, right? They brought south also. Well, they moved and then about 15 miles during the storm.
We have friends who moved from pickup and moved from Warren and moved to Braden. You know, in August. Spring. Right. Yeah.
Well, they said the hurricane track.
Well, fortunately, we got ready.
That's why I was, but so good.
And essentially, somebody control the weather.
I love that. All right. Try one more time. Just try the hashtag. Shall no longer C-H-A-G-24. So excited. I see it everywhere. Nope.
See clouds going.
Okay, so we will continue with old business for, so discussion and possible vote on Camden Board of Select proposed edits to the lease amendment.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, you proposed some edits, and we responded to those edits. Basically, one of the first things we responded to was several of the whereas clauses, which contemplate the history of where we are today. And we thought those were irrelevant to the discussion of the lease. If we were to keep those in, I would suggest that we add the fact that the board of selectmen at that time declined the ending the lease because of occasional litigation. And also in March of 2018, the former superintendent had sent a letter to the Mass State Building Authority saying that the school would be no longer using the school, any use of the school. So I don't think it's relevant to the thing, so we'd like to have that removed. The paragraph 4, and then we get to the paragraphs of the substance of the lease. Paragraph 4, the final sentence should just read June 30th, 2025, 2035, which is the typo, I believe. And then, yeah. 20, 30, 25. Oh, take out the at least, but it should say to 2030, 2025, not at least, because that would seem to suggest it could go longer. Paragraph 7 is not acceptable, and basically because it's saying that the town invested money, the town had invested money in it, we did repair, renovation, all that stuff. The Wilbraham Regional School District could at their own discretion take the building back over for the school, and that's unacceptable to us. And it's the same with paragraph 8. And basically, going back to 2018, it was clear that the district had no intention to use the building as a school again. So we would like to offer those amendments and proceed with signing the lease if we can.
So I guess I'll speak up. I think those amendments were my fault. I brought up.
We're not casting blame here.
So I brought up the question or the concern.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is obviously very unlikely, but currently the way the regional agreement reads, the Hamden Middle School students are only voluntarily in the Wilbraham Middle School. If all those families all of a sudden raised their hand and said, we refuse to go to Wilbraham, it's within their rights, according to the current regional agreement. And those students would then have to have middle school education in Hamden. There's only space in Green Meadows for half of them. So I asked that question. I said, in the event, I mean, this is very unlikely. I don't know what would motivate anyone to do that, but we have to think about what kind of problem that might cause. And I mean, the hope I think is that the regional agreement is going to be modified at the spring town meetings, and that will pass, and everyone will be happy with it, and then it won't be a concern after that. But that's where that came from. So I just, we should have a plan for where the Hamden Middle School students would go in Hamden. If there was more of them that insisted on being educated in Hamden, and we haven't changed the regional agreement, that would fit in Green Meadows. And so that was where that clause came. And that would be, the extremely unlikely event, gee whiz, all these, what are we talking about, 100 kids, John? Yeah, 100 kids, so about 50 of them would fit in Green Meadows. So they need 2 classrooms probably, or 2 classroom-sized spaces in another building, which could be Thornburg, just could be somewhere else in Hampton, but as the current regional agreement reads, it would have to be somewhere in Hampton. So I guess I pose the question to you guys, what do you guys think about that? And I mean, I think together as a team, we should have a plan in case that happens, so we're not like standing there, because I mean, it's not like we can say, oh, okay, well, let's just throw up a building real quick, we've got an extra $100 million.
I mean, you can ask yourself how the students from Hampton got to Wilkes Middle School to begin with. I mean, there's a long history there too. You know, how emails and letters were sent out to parents to get them to transfer. So, I mean, that was all done way back with other
Do
administrations.
we want to open this can of worms? How about I just make a motion that we accept all four proposals that the Hampton Board of Select has made for the regional, for the agreement?
I think that'll be good.
There you go.
I agree with that.
Second?
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or discussions? John, do you have anything to add?
I did have some clarification, because I wanted to make sure that I understood the proposal. I tried to provide the school committee with an annotated version that matches the proposal, so can I just make sure I have it right?
Yeah.
So proposal number one, I understand to be the whereas, it says whereas on about October 19th, 2017, the whereas in correspondence dated June 29th, and the whereas on July 17th, 2018, those are the ones you'd like to have removed, is that correct?
Correct.
And then on your number two, which I believe is the first paragraph on page 3, I think actually what you were saying, at least as I read it, was that there was an error in the way it's written. The last sentence should say, such use by the district should continue through June 30th, 2035, not by the town.
I believe it's the district shall continue through at least June
Right.
30th, 2025.
So maybe there's two changes there.
Where is it again, John?
It's just-
In your, if you want, if it's easier to refer to your letter,
Yeah.
in number 2, you said that the fourth paragraph should read, such use by the district shall continue at least through June 2025. It says, currently such use by the town shall continue through at least June 2025. So I think there's actually two changes there.
Two changes there.
Is this the use of premises or?
No, yes, it's section
Yeah.
4, use of premises. The first paragraph, paragraph number 5.
So basically, we're agreeing to provide space for the community campus. Is that that's what it is?
That, I don't think that sentence you're requesting any changes to. I think that you're requesting a change to the last sentence because it includes the language from that last sentence.
You're talking about old section 5, which is now section 4?
I'm talking about the paragraph that has the number 5 on the margin, and then it says section 4 use of premises. That's one of the reasons I want to go through. It's kind of confusing
Yeah.
when the numbers don't match.
Regular, there's 2, section 4, use of premises. So which one?
Did you mean June 30th, 2025, or did you mean June 30th, 2035? I believe that's the question. Correct, John?
That's one question. And then I think the other question is, were they asking to have district changed, town changed to district?
So used by the district, you're right, okay.
Yeah, town's crossed out.
Change the town to district,
And change 2035 to 2025.
2025, yeah.
Okay. And then your proposal number 3, I believe, is paragraph 8, section 4, use of premises. Is that correct? That's what you want to have removed?
Number 3 is the seventh paragraph,
7.
would be the entire 7th paragraph.
So is it,
The suggested new paragraph can't be removed. We don't accept that.
so that new paragraph is the one that's numbered 8, is what I'm asking.
Well, I got, on mine, I got 7. This begins with use of premises, add a new paragraph to read as follows.
Well,
Look at
actually,
6.
there are 4 paragraphs that start with that. The next thing says,
There's the only one that says add new paragraph K to read as follows.
the notwithstanding the agreement, okay. And then the last change, number 4, is the last paragraph of the whole agreement. And it is the last part of that paragraph,
Right.
under any period resumed use of TWB, that section, that paragraph,
Right.
correct? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everyone's on the same page before people vote on it.
Yeah, we don't have the, we just have their proposed modifications reports. I don't think we didn't have in our drive-through today.
It was in an
The
email.
original document.
It's
It
an
was
email,
an
but also
email
I think
this
it's in
afternoon.
your past binder as well.
Sorry, I was.
That's right. The email was sent at 4:36 today with the red line.
They're going to want some of this.
Gentlemen, if I can ask you, so as we have just discussed, we are in agreement?
I think if we're in agreement with what we sent for proposals, if you're in agreement with the proposals, then you.
I meant on the interpretation of the 4
Changes.
stipulations.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that we're all on the same page now. Everyone's comfortable with that? Good. That's all.
Mike, did you have anything else to add?
Nothing more than what I've already said. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it's unlikely, but I just, you know.
I would say let's see what happens with the code and cross that bridge if we need to cross it. I think you said, as you said before, the insanely high event that this happens, you know, then that's something, you know, we should look at. It becomes more likely, I would say, and if the vote does not pass, et cetera. So I would say let's ride a good wave here.
I mean, I feel very strongly the building should be turned back to the dam. I mean, I have been strongly for a long time. I'm concerned. I feel like I really wish that we had gone forward with the regional agreements last spring, but, okay.
Okay, thank you. So we're doing all in favor? Oh, Rich, did you have anything?
I don't know if you want any comments or just we're going to vote?
No, we've already done the first and second motion, so it's questions or comments, there's no rush.
I believe that there's so many things that could happen. Zillions of people could move in, birth rate could go up, who knows what's going to happen. So I say, you know, it's so unlikely, I agree with Sean, to cross that bridge when it comes to it. Who knows? Maybe by that time we want to build a new middle school and a big campus or something like that. Who knows what would happen? We'll cross the bridge when it comes to it, because there's a million unlikely things we could worry about, but we have to go with what's most likely. And, so I support what Sean said, and that's what the Hamilton Selectmen are proposing.
I do have a comment. I view Thornton Burns as a valuable asset for the district. And 3 years ago, when we had meetings in the 2 towns, there was large support to bring back shop home careers, which is impossible with an overcrowded middle school that exists in Wilbraham and an empty middle school in Hamden. I truly believe that we could attract Wilbraham students to Thornton Burgess if they were offering courses in the trades. Hands-on learning is something that has gone by the boards or significantly reduced since the onset of MCAS. And people in this community spoke loudly that they would like to see that return, but without the space. And I know it's going to take a long time because buying the equipment for those kind of classes is a really expensive proposition. There are federal funds available and some state funds available for that, but I would like to leave the door open for having a middle school in Hamden that offers shop classes, home and career classes. I think that would attract Hamden students to stay in Hamden, and also may attract Wilbraham students who are hands-on kind of learners to go to Thornton Burgess. I see it as an opportunity to offer something that the community wants that'll be put a number of years in the future. Because building a new school is something that I don't think that either select board would want to take on right now. But we have the space, and we're about to give it up. And we're no longer, we're just not offering a full-blown education for all different kinds of learners, the hands-on learners. You know, this myth that's gone on for the last decade and a half, that you have to go to college, is wrong. There are kids that come out of the vocational schools who make more than a first-year teacher right out of high school. Our kids don't have that opportunity, or very limited opportunity, but they got to leave this community, go across the river to get their vocational education. I think exposure to that kind of hands-on learning is something that children, that our students need in middle school and in high school. Maybe we can't have a full-blown vocational school, but the exposure to those kind of things may open different pathways for students to go to STIC or Holyoke Community and take up culinary arts or carpentry or heating and air conditioning. All tremendous employment opportunities that our kids are going to miss out on. So I understand where you guys are coming from, but my perspective is I'm a member of the school districts. That's my main goal, is to do the best for the children in our schools, and I don't think we're doing it right now without offering those kind of courses. And we're not in a position to do it because the middle school is way overcrowded. I'm not overly excited about 7th and 8th graders into the high school either. But I do think hanging on to Thornton Burgess could be a resolution, or the start of a resolution of the issues that I just brought. So I will be voting against this. My stepchildren all went to Thornton Burgess, had a great education there. And I don't think it's a good move, so thanks for listening.
Okay, so we will do, vote.
Oh, I was just going to, actually, can I make a comment just before you guys make a comment? I just want to say, Tim, if you remember, we had, when we were trying to get the budget approved, Wilbraham blocked adding vocational educational opportunities to the 9th graders. And they took that money out of our budget because they were not in favor of it. So I don't know where you think that everyone here is looking for more vocational opportunities in the district. I am proud of our students who go on to vocational education. They are just as valuable as a student who does higher education or does no more education. They graduated. That's our job. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
1 moment. Board of Selectmen, do anything? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'd like to make a quick comment, and I will say, Tim, you're not wrong. My company has been making vocational training for them for over 70 years. There's definitely a need for it. But I don't think this is the avenue for it. We have a need in the town of Hampton. We're outgrowing our space. We have a building that hasn't been utilized for whatever reason fully, and Mike could probably speak more to it from the finance perspective. You were throwing around numbers of over $100,000 a year costing the district for not being utilized for a full educational purpose. I think this is a solution to the town of Hampton's concerns and a budgetary issue for the school committee. You have better places to use that money that will solve other issues. Down the road, Tim, I hope there is a solution for increased vocational training for every district. Certainly we need it. I just don't think Thornton Burgess is going to fill that. I go back to what Rich says. Every option is on the table in the future. Perhaps there is a campus option that provides some new growth. Right.
Does anyone have anything new to add?
I just wanted to second what John said. I agree with you 100%. And I believe the number that was estimated for the maintenance and so forth was about $125,000 a year. And that was the amount that one of the years the school budget was shorted by that amount by Wilbraham's share because they basically protested what was going on. So I think it's very important the building is turned back over to Hampton. we don't have unlimited money, I wish we did. You know, I think we all could see so much happen to the kids, but we can do a great job with the resources we have also. Go ahead, Rich.
I was gonna say the same thing, it's all dollars and cents. If you're gonna sit there and keep a building empty, you know, how much is it costing us a year, the maintenance that it's gonna have to take, to even Hampton to find another spot, and it's all the taxpayers' money, and it's all can be most efficiently spent by turning the building over now and coming up, using the resources we have, the buildings we have, and making it work in the future with whatever the circumstances arise.
Okay, so we are,
I just want to add one thing, if I can, but everybody else is going on doing it. I agree with you, Tim, vocational shop skills. It's really lacking in the world today, and it would be great to have. When we did the strategic plan, that was a topic that came up time and time again. With that said, though, to get something up and running like that, it's not an overnight process. It's probably like a 5 to 10 year process. So at least it's another 10 years the way it sits. So we might be something to look at down the road. Hampton has the immediate need for space and utilization of the buildings. I don't want to discount what you said, I agree with you, but, you know, time being, it's not the right time.
so we will do it all in favor?
Aye.
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 You can just, okay. And anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion carries 6-1. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
5-1, sorry.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Committee members, when everybody has their microphone on, we get feedback. So if you are not speaking, everyone can make sure that it's on.
Brian's taking the notes.
Do you want to adjourn?
We're making a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. We do the best.
Not that we would love to stay.
I do appreciate the position, and I hope you will join with us in pushing the legislature to fully fund its underfunded and unfunded mandates so we can have the appropriate amount of money to spend on our students. Thank you.
Here, here.
Yeah, we'll be there to do that. As John knows, I'm a great one for writing letters.
Yeah. On the treadmill at 2 in the morning.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
We will continue with the middle school makeup days.
The help from at your house.
Sure. So you have a proposal to make up the 2 days that were closed due to mold. We're proposing, we have a MOU with the union to make those days up on November 5th and March 12th. They are in agreement. There are some quirks to it in the sense that March 12th was not technically a working day for paraprofessionals. Therefore, we cannot require them to work. So we've reached an agreement that those who do not wish to work or unable to work will notify us by a certain point, and we will reach out to other paraprofessionals to see if they are willing to work that day instead. We're pretty confident that's a non-work day for all paraprofessionals typically, so the remaining 90 or so paraprofessionals in the district, we're pretty confident we will be able to find enough sort of existing substitute paraprofessionals to fill those slots.
Can you also review the dates and what we have done there?
The dates, November 5th and March 12th. Those are the 2 dates.
You know the makeup days?
The makeup days, which days were being made up?
August 29th.
August 29th and 30th, sorry. Yes.
Any questions? Concerns? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding between the Hampton Wilbraham Public Schools and the Hampton Wilbraham Education Association.
Okay.
Questions or further discussion?
Yes, I just know that it's really hard to get, at least at the elementary level,
So I would hope, in passing this, we could also say that you have to alert us, 2 days in advance or 3 days in advance, that it will be available on that day, as opposed to teachers coming in and there's no one showing up.
Anyone else? Okay. We will vote on this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. And sick leave?
Alrighty, so in negotiations back in 2022, we agreed to work with teachers to put together a sick leave bank. It's taken us a little time, but we're hoping to get this in place before we start negotiations and have to roll it into negotiations again. So we are looking to the union, and we are looking to set up a sick bank that will hold up to 400 days donated by the staff into that bank, with the ability for people to access that sick leave bank when they've exhausted their own sick, personal, and other paid leave. They would submit an application in writing to the committee. The committee will be made up of members of both the union as well as school committee and administration to determine the use. Folks will be able to draw up to 30 days from the sick leave bank at a given time, and there's some conditions by which the sick bank would be replenished over time as well. The big pieces. This is for use in someone, not just someone who's used up their sick leave, but this is for someone who's had a catastrophic injury or illness that otherwise wouldn't be coverable. Any questions?
Would it also apply to someone whose spouse had a tremendous?
No. It's only the actual individuals, yeah.
So I make a motion to accept the sick bank pilot program as written in the copy you shared with us.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We will continue with the superintendent's update.
Thank you very much. The strategic plan in that process has already been referenced tonight with respect to vocational education. Another component of that is the medical behavioral health emergency response plan. I'm happy to report, as I did at the last meeting, that objective has now been accomplished. But more than that, I'd like to invite Jen Puhalski forward, because it really was all of her hard work that allowed us to update the plan, and she is the expert. So if you have any questions, we have her here tonight. Or any congratulations.
So I just wanted to, apologize. Oh, fair. Okay. To apologize for not being here last month. Thank you to the superintendent for giving it to everybody. I also, is that okay? Okay. Also, just want to acknowledge the hard work that Terry Brand, the previous nurse leader, put into this plan. She, in 2012, was instrumental in creating this plan. This year, she was also instrumental in helping me put the plan together. I believe, as Dr. Provost had mentioned last month, that in 2022, there was an amendment to the plan, and that's how we came up with needing to add the mental health component to it. So that was really in addition to the updates that we have to do every 3 years, we had to add mental health component to the plan. And so that was kind of the new piece that was added. Pretty much pages 5 through 7, that's where the mental health piece is, in addition to other information kind of scattered throughout, but the bulk of it is in pages 5 through 7. So, and I think really I don't know the reason for it, but the just recognition that any medical emergency has a behavioral mental health component to it. So I'm glad that it was added. The only downfall is that they made the name really hard. It went from MERP to M-BERP. Does anyone have any questions? It's pretty self-explanatory.
It was very, very in-depth and very detailed. Really great work to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does this need a motion?
How many teachers are trained in a school to administer the EpiPen?
The teachers are trained by the nurses every year, and the nurses in each building keep track of how many are trained. They try to train everybody, and we also encourage all teachers to take the sort of PowerPoint presentation that we've put together. So I can't say specifically how many in each building, but we try to train
But
everybody.
it's multiple.
Yes, oh yes.
So you don't have to worry about somebody being asked.
Right.
And how about field trips? Are EpiPens sent with one of those trained teachers?
So for the most part, we end up sending a nurse on the majority of the field trips because in addition to the EpiPens, we also have students with diabetes, and that just, you need a nurse there for that. Teachers can refuse, that's a strong word, but teachers can say, I don't want to be the responsible person for the, having the EpiPen and having to give it. So for the most part, we've been able to send a nurse on most field trips.
Now, I know first responders carry Narcan. Do we have that available?
We have it in every school, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, I will continue with the rest of my report this time. Beginning with enrollment, this month we have the all-important October 1st count, which is an important driver of the state funding formula. Our October 1st enrollment was 2,885, which is an increase of 39 students from October 2023. Next, to follow up on the discussion of transportation issues, I can share that in response to the letter the committee requested at the last meeting, that was a letter you asked me to write to the governor, DESE Senior Advisor Anne-Marie Stronach has been sent to provide technical assistance to the LDPEC. We continue to experience delays, but our vendors getting help from the highest level of state government. Locally, we've been able to mitigate the traffic impacts on Stony Hill and Main Street in Wilbraham by redesigning traffic flows for the parent drop-off and pickup. I'd like to thank SRO Dan Ryan as well as Principals Danglis and Pettit for assisting with both the design and implementation of the new procedures. Also on the topic of traffic calming, I can report that I was invited to a meeting of the Wilbraham Town Safety Team where we discussed options for improving the crosswalk on Main Street near Mile Tree School, including the possibility of installing a flashing beacon for pedestrians. So moving on to Innovation Career Pathways, which again comes under the leadership component of our strategic plan. As you may know from attending the middle school open house or from the communication I sent last night, I had an opportunity to discuss the Innovation Career Pathway model with caregivers. As part of that, I invited them to weigh in on whether they felt a pathway in advanced manufacturing or healthcare and social assistance would be the most beneficial for the district and their children. We had, I felt, a very good response to the request for feedback, with 134 families responding to the survey by 1 o'clock this afternoon. Of those, 59% favored creating a career pathway in healthcare and social assistance, and 27% supported creating a pathway in advanced manufacturing. 14% were not in favor of either pathway. In response to the question of whether a pathway might be a good option for their own children, 80% responded yes or maybe. Our design team had partly completed the Part A application with both contingencies in mind. Based on the responses from our community, I feel our best course of action would be to seek a designation for healthcare and social assistance pathway in the current round, but also to pursue designation for an advanced manufacturing pathway at a future round. I think that connects with many of the comments we heard tonight around giving kids more hands-on learning opportunities. because although there was a clear preference for health care and social assistance, there's still a sizable minority of respondents who indicated an interest in advanced manufacturing, and the school can have more than one pathway. I attended office hours with a DESE representative this afternoon, where I received favorable feedback to the idea of starting with health and social assistance and then bringing in advanced manufacturing at a later date. My next goal is to complete the text version of the application so that Aaron O. can enter it online into the state's submission system with the time he has remaining with us. So I hope we'll be invited to enter the next stage of the process. As I explained last night, if we are invited to move forward, we'll schedule more interactive sessions with interested students and their families to answer questions and to further develop the program. Hopefully, we'll receive an official designation in April so that we can begin enrolling students for the fall. And that's my report.
John, did you get any feedback after the middle school? Unfortunately, with work, I was not able to attend. My wife was also did you get any feedback from parents afterwards about your presentation, about the innovation career pathways program?
I think the main feedback is what I've already reported. 134 families responded to my request to tell me what you think. 80% of them said this is something that they think might be good for them, or was definitely good for their child. I think that, you know, as you may have noticed from that communication, we had to send it out again because I had forgotten that the middle school was kind of a cell phone dead zone, and so about 14 people were able to respond, and then they completely jammed up the airwaves. So I think that it was, in my opinion, a very favorable response. Of course, we'll know more as we hopefully get invited to Part B and then start having more, as I said, interactive communications where we start looking for a commitment. I was clear about last night, we're not asking you to commit to anything, just let us know, is this a good thing you want us to keep pursuing? And I think the response was clearly yes, that this is something families would like us to offer as an option for their kids.
Did we hear anything from the Pioneer Valley Collaborative about the busing situation? Did we get any response from them?
Yes, so as I mentioned, I wrote in a letter to the governor. We are working with the collaborative on a daily basis on issues with transportation. They responded favorably to DESE's, I guess I would say, sort of forceful offer of assistance by providing one of their senior advisors to help out. I know that within days of Anne Marie Stronach contacting us, the administration of the LVPEC said, yes, please tell us if we can do this better. But we continue to work on a daily basis. Aaron is actually the one who makes the calls for our district. And so I think there may have been a slowdown in that slightly, but we're still getting them on a daily basis. We still have a couple of buses that are impacted by long delays. It seems to be more of a PM situation where students are, it's usually one bus a day that's about 55 minutes late picking up kids at the middle school, which of course has impacts for our budget. I do have a meeting that I'm trying to schedule with the collaborative to talk about the impacts that we're having because of that. I think that, you know, it's not a situation that we got into overnight. It's not something that's going to be solved overnight, but, you know, we're continuing to press on it, as are the other members of the LVPEC.
Do we know, does the contract for the bus provider have penalties for not meeting what we have contracted for?
So as I attempted to explain at the last meeting, the LVPEC is actually a corporation that's owned by the 7-member districts. So it's essentially us. So we don't write a contract to sort of a subcontractor of ourselves. What we do is we have sort of overall financial oversight of the LVPEC through our membership on both the corporation board and the LVPEC board. And what happens, in fact, you saw it in the budget situation that came up this year, when the LVPEC doesn't provide a service that it was supposed to provide, it means that there's a cost savings to them that they then have to give back to us in the form of a dividend. And this year, the dividend was used to offset the cost of increasing transportation. But that is essentially the penalty. The penalty is they don't provide what we had provided, what we had paid them for, so then they have to pay it back to the member districts in the form of a surplus.
I have not heard from the corporation council, and I'm supposed to be on, correct? And I have not received any. So could you send me on the contact information so I can reach out to them?
Absolutely.
And I do have a question for them. I understand what you just explained, but that wouldn't prevent the corporation from putting the bus contract out to bid and not managing it. Because I did reach out to the Springfield School Committee, and they are not having trouble hiring bus drivers, mainly because they have serious penalties for the company that won the bid not delivering on the issues that are in the bid. That's hard to do when it's you. If you put it out to bid, and I think that's the reason why they're not having trouble, because the companies get on the horse because they don't want to have to pay the penalties.
I think the main reason is that the bus contract that Springfield has, I believe, is non-union, correct?
I don't know.
No, it's not correct. They're represented by the United Food and Commercial Workers. And they do have a contract, and they do have a union.
So what I could do is I could contact the executive director, and if I'm understanding you correctly, essentially he'd like a motion on the next meeting to liquidate the assets of the transportation service and their staff and to bid it out, see if that would provide better service for the districts.
Well, I would like us to investigate.
Okay.
I don't want to say you have to do it, but I think that's a possible solution that may be beneficial to all the communities in the collaborative.
So I'll work with you and the executive director in getting that into the right format for the meeting.
I had one question about innovative pathways.
Sure.
When you were talking about the pathways of families at the middle school, were there any questions about, was it, I guess, communicated as to where those pathways would be taking place? Was it clear that those students would then be?
I did say that one of the reasons we were pursuing it was in order to try to address situations of overcrowding in middle school. I also said that, we wanted to make sure that we provided pathways for both 8th grade and 9th grade, in part because there may be a situation where a student doesn't know until 9th grade if they want to do it, or if we get in a situation where we have an overabundance of applications, we might need to do a lottery, and so students might not be able to do it in 8th grade and have to go into 9th grade. So we did talk about that briefly, but I have to say last night's session was not interactive because I was trying to get a lot of information out and just collect votes. If we get to part B, we will have more in-depth conversations with families about both 8th grade options and 9th grade options.
John, forgive me if this is something you've already mentioned, but what proposals has Anne Marie brought to the table? What ideas has she brought to the table? Any immediate remediation to this problem of transportation? Do we have anything that, any pathway that we're looking at that, wow, this is great, looks like we're coming down to it?
One idea that she brought to the table, well, two things that I think are potentially promising. One was creating a binding contract with employees during training, because one of the issues that the collaborative is experiencing is they have a paid training program for their drivers, but many drivers are obtaining the CDL license through the training and then going and working for somewhere else. So that was one idea she had. The other idea connects to her other role with the Department of Education right now, which is coordinating migrant education. And so one of the things she said is, I'm quite involved with migrant families who are looking for work, and maybe there's a way I can sort of connect my role as the sort of advisor to the state on migrant families with this transportation problem and open up a new potential source of employees for you. So those are the two things that I think probably were most promising of what she had to offer.
Did she have anything for remediation, like we had proposed, getting the National Guard to come in and have them drive buses and help us at least in the short term while we work on these long-term possibilities?
We did have a brief conversation about National Guard, but I don't think that is something that's realistic at this point.
I mean, it has been done before, correct?
It was done for a short time at the beginning of school reopening after COVID. It was also, I mean, not bus driving, but the National Guard was also called out during COVID in order to implement testing of students and staff. Those are the two deployments that I'm familiar with.
We do have precedents, and that's something that would give immediate resolution, at least in the short term while we work on these long-term problems, and it wouldn't be that many, I think, that we would need. And so they were not interested in that, or what was the response when it was brought up?
Well, as you recall, the deployment was very short term when that happened. I don't want to speak for the armed services, but I think that the feeling was that it kind of was not well aligned with their mission.
Anything else? Okay, we will continue. New business, so we will move on to the Wilbraham Middle School DC trip, so one by John Dozier.
Hello, everyone. So I'm once again back and am with a little reluctance requesting that we entertain approving us to move forward and approving the DC trip for the 2024-25 school year. Maybe we can get the National Guard to drive us. Should be helpful. The trip is a little bit modified from previous years. So 2 years ago, we had 130 kids go. Last year, we had 115 students attend. We have modified our planned trip to be only 2 nights instead of 3 nights. Again, leaving on a Sunday, so students would only miss 2 days of school instead of previous years, they missed 4. Last year, they missed 3. I say reluctance because there's a number of issues that I have with continuing the trip and continuing to ask for your approval. Cost is one. The current cost, even though we reduced it by a day, the cost is $887 plus an additional fee for T-shirts and things that aren't included in the Explorer cost. I am concerned about equity issues and access for a number of our students. Sightseeing is great in DC unless you have vision problems. Climbing the steps of the Lincoln Memorial is great unless you can't walk. Walking through the city is wonderful unless you have sensory issues and you can't. It's hard for you to manage yourself. So I have some real concerns about that. And I had shared last night at open house also that I wouldn't be pursuing this next year. This would be the last time that I would ask this group for approval. So that is the current, in your packet, the current itinerary. We may need to adjust some of that based on equity issues again. We've got some students with mobility issues that are not going to be able to go to Ford's Theater and climb those stairs. It's not an accessible place. So there are things that we can't do and won't be able to do that we would need to adjust. And so I'll leave it at that. I'm open to any questions or any clarification that I can provide.
And I've never been to Ford's Theater, but thank you. There's not an elevator that adults use that have
Not
wheelchair
that
access?
not that I saw, I'm sure there might be.
I would think nowadays.
But I
they have
don't know that to be
be
the
way-
case. It's really tight, it's really small, you're up in the balcony. Even if, yes, right, there is access to some of these places, which there are. But that makes those students different. And they don't get to, when we say we're gonna go walk the mall, the kid can't walk, it's different. So I think we set kids up for being singled out. And Fort Sears is great, right? But if you can't access it, it's not so great.
There is wheelchair access, I just double checked.
At Fort
But like
Sears.
you said, putting them, singling them out as needing that wheelchair access.
Yeah.
I'm after that. And also, I believe that the Lincoln Memorial, when I was there last time, it was.
And they have it over there as well.
Yeah, because my son was the one who was running up and down.
But part of the adventure is running up the stairs together. It's a worthwhile trip, and I also think there's parts of the trip where if you've been on it with 100 and something kids, and Jen can certainly attest to this, there are places in the Capitol and there are places that we visit that really do require more of an intimate approach rather than a herd of cattle going through. Arlington being one, it's a fantastic, I love Arlington, but I don't know if kids always get it, and it can come across oftentimes as disrespectful, and I would hate for anyone to feel that way, any veterans or families like that. So there are portions of it which, again, that's my role.
And we did use wheelchairs this past year just because there were injuries, and it's a lot. It's just a lot, but we did do it.
I think we would have additional costs to what we're asking for now with additional staff supporting individual kids, additional nursing staff. So that cost will go up. It has to go up based on potential kids that may access the trip.
Principal DeRozier, I know the item on the agenda is approval of the DC trip, although you've argued quite forcefully against approval of the DC trip. Could you just share a little bit about what you're thinking for the future? Is your vision sort of more appropriate?
Yeah, so some of the things we've talked about are potentially some shorter trips, some places where you go and stay. Some things that we've examined in the past and we've asked to examine again are like Nature's Classroom, which is more educationally based. It still has some limitations for accessibility, but it's not traveling through a city, and its purpose is to educate all students, and I think those are the things that we would try and push forward on. Still kind of give the kids the experience of going someplace, and really, again, referring to Jen, the buses and the hotels are really where they want to be. They want to be with their friends, they want to be hanging out with their friends. And if you go to a museum, they've got, the bandwidth for about a half an hour, and then they're sitting in the corner on their phones. There are other avenues that are more cost-effective and inexpensive and accessible to more families if we examine them differently.
Thank you.
Any other questions? May I have a motion? Nobody wants to make a motion to approve the DC trip?
I will make a motion to approve the DC trip. You've listed a lot of problems, but at least personally, we've taken our kids to DC many times, usually over the April vacation week, and it really is a big thing for the kids. Yeah. And I know taking 5 kids is a lot different than taking 100 kids.
And I've taken my kids as well.
Yeah.
And
So
we're able to get, like I was talking about, that intimate experience and pull them aside and have a conversation before you go to the Holocaust Museum about what they're about to see. It's harder to have with 130 kids.
no, I know.
But it's a wonderful place. It's a great experience for kids in smaller doses.
I think at this point, if we were to approve it, it would send a message that we don't want to send to the families and the children. There's a note that you said about accessibility and expense and just how much vested interest the entire 100 kids have, that would lead us in a different direction.
Build off of what Cheryl just said, I just remember, in the past years that we've done this trip, a lot of students just talked about how amazing an experience that it was. And some students had come to me and said that, if it wasn't for the school doing this, they never would have visited the Capitol, So I do see this as a balance. I do understand that we, on the one side, you want something more educational, something more appropriate maybe, or so not singling out those with disabilities. But on the other side, there are people who are like, yeah, this is my big thing. That, if it wasn't for the school taking us, I would never go. So
if they haven't done that.
I do apologize, point of order. We do have a motion, and is anyone going to second it?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so we will continue. Do anything else, John? Okay, so we'll.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the trip, first, if I'm taking a trip, I love travel and everything, I take groups to DC too. Is that if the kids really were just on a phone in a corner, I'd say, why bother, you're right. In terms of being accessible to all, which I'm certainly for, like what percent of kids have, would be part of, have accessibility problems? And then the real question is, there's always going to be a percentage. Does that mean no more trips for anybody? Or if I was inaccessible, I was tagging along, I realize I can't do everything, but I'd still be happy to be there with everybody else. I'm not certain that everybody has to do everything, or say no trip, or we take a trip where some people can't do everything on the trip. I mean, it's better than no trip.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of a loaded question, but I wouldn't want to be a parent that says, I don't want to send my kid on that trip because I don't want to ruin it for other kids. That's not fair to that kid. I would also say you can do some of this, but you can't do all of it. That's not fair. That's not equitable. Is there? I guess if I had to answer that question, if all kids can't do it, then we shouldn't be offering it. And that's a broad brush. That's kind of the reality of equity in education. There is, parents are making decisions, and they're making decisions based on what they think their kids want to do, and there's other kids and parents that are making decisions based on what their kids aren't able to do. That's a hard place for parents.
And it sounds like your participation rate is about 50%, just under. Okay, so we will do a vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Of the trip, yes.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0.
I would like to take my hat off to the teachers who are supervising this trip. I have been to DC with 100 middle school kids, and it is an exhausting experience. One helpful hint, when we hit the Smithsonian, we told the kids, you're on your own. We are going to buildings that we want to see. You're welcome to follow us. It was the only part of the trip we didn't have to count heads. They followed us around.
Yeah, they are doing God's work when they go, and they know it going too. And they still choose to go. That's off to my and to the nurses. Trying to save lives even on a ride home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this by airplane or is it by bus? You go from here by bus? By airplane.
Yes,
That's not correct. That would be even more. We attempted to do that a couple years ago because World Strides forced us to, as part of their bid, to fly, and the cost would Master Chronicle. No, it's bus. You leave Sunday morning and return Tuesday night.
That's a good trip.
Quick trip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will continue with new business. We are going to invite Steve Brentrick up to discuss MIA.
Good evening, everybody. First, I just want to thank the school committee, the community, Principal Hale, with all the support during the scheduling error that occurred with the MIA. I know I sent Dr. Provost the message that the MIA and the PBIEC sent out to you guys. So they are allowing our teams to participate in the Western Mass tournament. There are some other questions that I still have kind of unanswered with the PBIAC that I want to follow up tomorrow. One being, is it mandatory to still participate in the Western Mass tournament, or is there an opt-out option because we were not originally in based on the TBA error? And with that, if they do participate, big picture state tournament-wise, our boys soccer team will drastically drop in the power rankings. Kind of a domino effect of things in terms of home field advantage, financial changes. So instead of hosting 3 home games, making really good money off ticket gate, we're traveling for 2 or 3 or 4 away games with transportation being a little bit offsetting. Our girls soccer program is towards the end of the power rankings, and by possibly playing in the tournament could set them out of the top 32 of the state rankings. So those are questions I want to just present to the PBIAC tomorrow of, yes, this got approved, but now do we have to play in it? And can it be a team-by-team decision if they choose to play and accept the forfeits, whether they win or lose in the tournament?
See, that's the problem that I have. It doesn't seem like a compromise at all. It seems like okay, we'll let you play because we want to give you your money. But no matter what, you're not going to win. So even if you do win, what's a forfeit?
So the hardest part talking with the kids is, right, so I'll give soccer for an example. Soccer's top 8 ranked teams for Class A make the Western Mass tournament. If we face a team, I'll say Long Meadow. If we beat Long Meadow, it goes in as a 3-0 loss.
Right.
But we still get to advance to the semifinals. But now if we face Ludlow, and we beat Ludlow, which is great, the goal would be to win Western Mass, we make it to the finals, but now the punishment is you get another 3-0 forfeit loss. So it's been, the kids have been great, the coaches and myself and Mr. Ray, we've been extremely transparent about the whole process and trying to gather their opinions of how they feel of what is more important, chasing a Western Mass title with multiple forfeits, or chasing a state title, which our boys soccer have a really good opportunity for that this year. So that's kind of the questions I have tomorrow with the PBIAC of, is this now mandatory because it's been approved, or is there an option for each team to choose to participate or not? I think boys and girls soccer are the outliers that can be drastically impacted by those forfeits. Volleyball will make states. They have the amount of wins to qualify for states, and it won't impact their seeding much. Field hockey, it would be 1 game, and it wouldn't impact the seeding much. But the boys and girls soccer on 2 ends of the spectrum could impact the experience drastically.
Unfortunately, like I said, it doesn't seem like a compromise. It seems like okay, instead of not letting you play at all, we're going to let you play, but then it's an automatic forfeit. And that just doesn't seem like a compromise at all. So I get those answers, and, and let's, based on that, I don't know, are we looking, the vote here, is the vote to approve the compromise, or the vote is to maybe if we want to send a letter or send something? I think we want to send something. I think we want to send to them, thank you very much for the compromise, but we don't really see it as a compromise. I mean, the purpose of having this competition is to create a student's ability to participate as part of a team, and that where you take the wins on the chin, you take the losses. I mean, you take the wins, but you also take the losses, you know? It's important to be able to accept those losses and accept the wins. But for you to go out, blood and sweat, you know, leave blood and sweat on the field there and just work as a team and accomplish, you know, winning, just to be told, okay, that's it's a forfeit. It's just, I would say, disheartening and against why we have school sports in the first place, isn't it? And then I would challenge the MIAA to be, what are you doing? I mean, we're not promoting the best part of school athletics by this compromise.
And that's where I've talked to Dr. Provost a lot. I've talked with Mr. Hale, who's been very supportive too. It's hard to figure out the, I guess, compromise, because in the MIA handbook, and this is where, to me, it's not a compromise, because the rule is if you play non-scheduled games, it counts as a forfeit.
Right.
So that's kind of the MIA utilizing their handbook, as the handbooks are there for a reason. That is the ruling, and that's why I want to find out if it's mandatory for all our teams who qualify for the Western Mass tournament to participate or not. Because the initial error was mine of not scheduling 2 TBA games. We hit all the other mandatory other 16 games. So on paper, we're honoring our 16 games that we have on the schedule. Now we're being told you have to play 2 more, and by the way, they're forfeits if you play other teams that TBA. So that's where my questions come tomorrow.
Can I ask a question and see if my understanding is right? Because I understood it to be a little bit more nuanced than that. I thought it was a win was a forfeit if you played another team that had scheduled, but a win could be a win if you matched up with someone else who was unscheduled. Is that correct?
So say if, I'll give Northampton as an example. Northampton is in the same boat as us. If we were to face Northampton, whoever wins advances, but it counts as nothing.
Right.
So it counts, it would almost be as a scrimmage. So it would not go towards a win or loss record towards the state rankings. It would not fluctuate the state rankings, but it's the luck of the draw if we get them or not. Volleyball has a great opportunity to draw a handful of those non-TBAs, but you don't know until 2 more weeks. And polling our kids, and at the end of the day, my goal is to support our kids and coaches as much as possible. They're not comfortable moving forward, but I also need to make sure we're doing the right thing through the PBIAC, but also understanding what the guidelines are. Because like I said, it's kind of a reverse. We didn't do what we were supposed to do in the beginning, and we've kind of accepted that as kind of a defeat, but now they've reversed it, but now the punishment is 2 forfeits if you do decide to not compete. And that's what personally I'm struggling with, especially for education-based athletics. I've had a hard time the last couple of weeks with this. So.
Can I say, I think it's a little bit more than that, right? It's not 2 forfeits if you choose to compete. It may be 2 forfeits and you have to compete.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So.
And part of that is, so hypothetically, say boys soccer, right? They drop, like I said, Long Meadow round 1, we beat Long Meadow. In the second round we lose, it's still, that second round against another TBA still counts as a forfeit. Now if we were to play Long Meadow round 1 and Long Meadow beats us, it still goes in as a 3-0 forfeit loss, and we have no more games after that. There's not a second game to affect anything, but you still don't know until you actually compete.
I want to ask a question. So if let's say you did not want to participate, let's take this whole situation that's happened out, okay? You do not want to participate in that tournament, and you don't put the days in because we don't want to participate. Then you don't participate, correct?
That's what I'm trying to find out tomorrow. They're saying there is no opt-out of the Western Mass tournament. And that's where my questions are. If we don't put in the games, we're honoring just what's on our schedule per MIA rules.
Right.
Games are submitted in at a certain time. I understand and appreciate the long-lasting history of the Western Mass tournament. The PBIC has been great with support. and I understand what their goal is to continue on with the Western Mass tournament. I struggle at times because we're the only region that runs a regional tournament. Nobody else in the state does. That counts towards your regular season and power rankings and everything else as well.
What can we do to help you as a school committee? Because we have it down here that we can put up a vote. I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think that we could vote on that would give you leverage when you go into this meeting tomorrow?
So I don't think there's anything we can vote on right now. I think I need to get more answers from them first. I still have a lot of questions in terms of the equity of football and our other sports. It's been explained to me a million times why football is in a different category of the other teams in TBA. But in the guidelines and everything written, they're under the same paragraph of expectation of scheduling. But they're being held to a different standard. So those are questions I've been asking and trying to get more answers for. The statement for the Western Mass change was just last night. And like today, I had the luxury of bringing our kids to a leadership conference today, so I had some time to breathe away from this. So tomorrow's kind of my go time to ask some more questions of, is it mandatory, is it not mandatory? Can boys soccer opt out, but if field hockey wants to play and compete, what are those options? And those are the things I need to ask first before I think I can come to the school committee of the directive guidance of next steps or not.
I would also, when you're talking with them, if they say, oh no, you have to participate, well, maybe we left you off the schedule because we didn't want to participate. And where is there anything written in the book, in their book that says that you have to?
I'd have to look into the bylaws, and I did read the statement that they came out with last night, and it does not say you must participate. It says you can participate if you qualify.
Right.
So if that's kind of the last letter we're going on, that's also a leg for me to stand on to defend our kids if they choose they do not want to compete. I will say I'm the kind of outlier, myself and one other school. Everyone else was excited with the change, but to me, it's great they're given the opportunity, but the punishment for that opportunity, I think, outweighs that positive experience for them on my mistake and not theirs.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Let us know what we can do to help.
Okay, thank you.
So we will continue. John.
Sure. As you all know, Aaron's time with us is growing short. We're in the process of conducting a search for his replacement. It is most likely that anyone who you appoint as the next assistant superintendent for business operations will have a notice requirement in their contract, much like Aaron does. And so I think it would be wise for us to arrange for interim leadership of his department. And so tonight I would ask for your approval of Cami Lemica as an interim assistant superintendent for finance operations and HR. She's someone who I worked with in the past. She's someone who, if you don't mind my saying, was instrumental in training Aaron for the role. So she has a really good reputation in the field. When another district got into trouble with their finances, the state appointed her as the financial overseer for that district. So I think her qualifications can't be beat, and she's willing to do it. So I would ask your approval of her.
What is she doing now?
She's retired.
Is there anywhere a process in the district of something or some procedure that we're supposed to follow to find an interim acting? Or is it as simple as you both agree and this is your recommendation? Or does there have to be a round of interviews, stuff like that?
There doesn't have to be, technically there doesn't have to be a round of interviews for any appointment. What has to happen is there needs to be a vote of the school committee.
Make a motion to appoint.
Question. In your conversations with her, is she looking for a short-term Band-Aid and then in her career go somewhere else, or in her retirement go somewhere else, or would she be happy to settle in and spend a few years?
I think, well, she's in what we refer to as the bonus round at this point, because she's retired, she's able to receive her retirement benefits. And as she said, she's able to help in situations where she wants to. And so I think she would be willing to do this for a short period of time for us, but I don't think she has any interest in being a permanent person.
With a short period of time, to the end of the school year, so that there could be continuity at least through the budget season?
I would hope, well, she's going to be time limited in the amount of hours she can work as a retiree. So I would hope that we could stay pretty close to our initial timeline, which is to get someone new on board by January. We'll see how that timeline works out.
Make a motion to appoint Cami Lamica as interim assistant superintendent for finance operations and human resources.
Second.
Any questions or additional comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And then next is question 2.
I make a motion to speak on it.
Yeah, we're not going to just make a motion, we just, because
Can we make the motion and then talk about it afterwards? Isn't that how it's supposed to go? Or?
well, typically people want to know what, not everyone may know what question 2 is. So I think it's important to say at least what question 2 is before a motion is made.
That's question 2.
Yeah.
So question 2 is getting rid of the MCAS requirement to graduate. It's not getting rid of the MCAS. And the MCAS will still be used for all the other reasons it's used for today. So I look at this, and I feel pretty passionate about this because I work with schools all over the world, and I'm also a business owner. And as a business owner, I ask, what does a high school diploma mean? And it doesn't mean that somebody that has it, they can read maybe at a 9th grade level, they can write at 9th grade level, do math at 9th grade level. Does it mean at 11th grade level, 3rd grade level? Does it have any meaning whatsoever? Now, for handing over, I actually spoke to Principal Hale about this today at length. And he said in the last 10 years, there were only 6 kids in this district that weren't able to pass. And they were basically severely disabled special needs kids. That's 6 in 10 years. He said there were other kids that wouldn't have passed, but they helped them pass. In other words, they worked extra with them to get them to pass, to get them to that level. So, in the state itself, there were 700 kids out of 70,000. That's 1%. So that term should, somebody says, hey, high school diploma should have no meaning whatsoever. Okay, get rid of it. I believe it should be a lot. High school diploma should have some meaning. And I look at the rest of the world. I actually called some friends yesterday. In India, my friend there, they said everybody has to take a rigorous multi-day test to get out of high school. About 87.5% pass. For India, that's hundreds of thousands that don't. But having that diploma means you're at this level, it's your ticket to a government job, it's your ticket to like a civil service job, a ticket to be able to go on to college if you want to. And so people work really, really hard. You can wait 6 months and take it again in India to do it. China, the same thing. I checked the schools in Europe. They all have rigorous exams to get out. You look at the graduated people at MIT, they're almost all from India and China nowadays when you look at that list. So I believe the question is, what should a high school diploma really mean? Or should it mean you just attended? At least in this district, there's only 6 kids we're talking about. So the other thing I look at in terms of that is I remember a book called The Other Westmore. I don't know if anybody's ever read that. About 15 years ago, he came to speak at the Springfield Public Forum. He's now the governor of Maryland, maybe a future presidential candidate, but I always remember his talk. And there was he grew up in not the greatest section of Baltimore. There was somebody else he read that had the same name, Westmore, that got convicted of murder and was going to jail. He said, why did this guy end up in jail for murder? And I didn't live very far away, and I ended up, eventually, getting a scholarship. But he said he hung out with people that were not the best people back then. They kept moving him on in school. They kept waiving the requirements. They went to get rid of him, move him up. And finally, he had this mentor, and he remembers that when they sat him down, he said, we're not going to make things easy for you. You have to hit the same requirements as everybody else. And we have to sit and work with you to get to those requirements. And eventually got a scholarship, went to an Ivy League school, became like a lawyer, wrote a book, and became governor of Maryland, which was like 10, 15 years later. So it's quite the story. He said, do not take people and make lesser requirements for some just so everybody can pass. You know, make it rigorous, make it so you have to work to get there, but help them. Help people that don't have the background. Help them make those accomplishments and get those goals. And make a high school diploma or a college diploma worth something. Or we can just say, everybody goes in this country, like in India, everybody goes to middle school and gets out, no matter what happens. You know, but once you get to high school, that's where you have to compete, and where you have to accomplish something to get out. So for me, I feel very strongly that we should have a rigorous, that high school diploma should mean something. That if somebody comes to my office and says, I have a high school diploma, I know that they can do certain things. Right now, you know, because it's so easy, it really doesn't tell me that much, even the way it is today. So it's not going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference because it's the bar is so low with this 1% that doesn't get it. It's just so low, it doesn't tell me anything. I have to start getting my own test to see, can they read and write? Can they write an email? Can they find another country on a map? Do they have the basic skills to work in an office? So should a high school diploma, and I believe it should, tell a business, hey, this person has something, has some knowledge. I know I speak to people in colleges, and they get kids coming in from high school that are not prepared. They just don't have the basic reading and writing and ability to do it. They have to have special courses there because they got out of high school and they didn't have that ability. So I think, as both a former teacher myself, and I know we passed kids at the time in Longmeadow because we didn't want them to hang around. We didn't want to be bothered with the kids for another year. You know, let's get them out. I believe that as a business owner, as somebody that works with schools and that used to be a teacher myself, that we should have rigorous standards to get out. And right now, what question 2 is, the MCAS thing is really very, very minuscule. That's, remember, 6 kids in 10 years in this district didn't make it. And that's like almost nobody. And the question, should those kids have gotten a diploma, even though they really can't read, probably in the 3rd grade level? Should they get a diploma? That's the question we have to ask ourselves on that. So.
Well, you mentioned India, I'll mention Finland, who consistently is #1 internationally. No standardized tests. They don't teach to a test. They teach critical thinking. They give a kid a broad education that includes shop, home careers, civics. And the idea is to teach them to be critical thinkers. A one-size-fits-all test does not do that. As a matter of fact, it's done quite the opposite. It has narrowed our scope of education. It's one of the reasons why art and music, civics, shop, home and careers, physical education, health have either been eliminated in some school districts who are under the gun on MCAS or severely limited, even here. I think the teachers do hold kids to higher standards. There may be some teachers who want to pass a kid on just so they don't have to face them. I find that hard, and I see that as a problem for the administration in that school to deal with teachers like that. And that's come from a former union president. But it doesn't eliminate MCAS, which I would like to see. I'd like to get back to the days when we gave a test every year, which gave every student a grade equivalent C, and you had it in your hands before the end of the school year, so you could plan for the kids who are coming in, which MCAS really is not an effective tool in that respect. But it's part of this whole thing that doesn't see the value in the interconnectedness of art and music to science and mathematics. And you know, there are studies that show the kids that are in band do better across the board in all their subjects. I think this is a step in the right direction. And I would like to see us, you know, vote in favor of eliminating this as a graduation requirement. And I don't think your figures are accurate about Wilbraham, because my stepson was in first class, had to pass it. Now, he didn't show up as someone who was denied a diploma because he dropped out. He had a learning disability. Kids with learning disability, or kids who don't have English as their first language, are not given the kind of accommodations on that test that they should be given. And we're not counting the kids who get frustrated and drop out. They don't show up as a denied diploma, they're a dropout. Those are two different categories. I think you have to look into that as well as how many kids over the years here did that. I mean, he got lucky in that one of his best friend's father ran a construction company and he started working for him. Today, I mean, he's a young man now. He can do plumbing, he can do electrical work, he can do carpentry. He's very skilled and knowledgeable in that sense. And I think this test has really pushed that kind of education out of our schools or severely limited it. And I agree with you. I don't think the test really does anything to benefit these kids. It doesn't benefit teachers. If you give a test, you want to see, did the students grow? That's the real measure of the work that teachers are doing in their classrooms. This is a criterion reference test, a fixed target. It does not measure students' growth towards the target. And we've all known people who came to education as it's something important. They want to put their time in late in life. But to deny a diploma, which denies you access to the service, denies you access to college. There are kids who mature later than other kids. I just think the way it's been used has done serious damage to the education across this Commonwealth. And we have been #1 on our national assessment of educational progress here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, long before MCAS and continue after MCAS. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and the Mass Association of School Committees is putting it forward at their meetings as something that they'd like to see happen.
Again, on that, the question is, should it mean something? And I'm not for teaching to a test. Getting rid of the MCAS was on the ballot. That might be a different story. But even with getting rid of MCAS, the question is, should the diploma mean something? And yes, if somebody doesn't speak English, if somebody can't take that test, should it mean something? I'm not saying you don't get a certificate of attendance, but should a high school diploma say, I can read it no matter how low level, I can read it at a 6th grade level, a 9th grade level, should it have any meaning whatsoever? If somebody can't take a little test, even if they don't read English, should they get the diploma then? We teach them to read English. It might take a little bit longer. Should a diploma have a meaning? And if we decide, no, a diploma shouldn't mean anything to a business, it just means they attended, it's a certificate of attendance, which isn't the same as schools all over the world that we're in competition with.
Rich, can you help me out for a second, just so I can understand? So, if you don't mind, would you want to jump in first? Okay. You're saying, should it mean something? And you're saying that it is the diploma, right? Or is that it the test? Because right now, the test doesn't mean anything. That's what you just said. You just said that, 6 people in the last how many ever years didn't get it. So it seems to me the test doesn't mean anything.
Basically, right now it's so low, in most cases it doesn't mean anything, so it's really irrelevant.
Right, so basically that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying, Rich. I think we're on the same page, but we're coming at it from a different angle.
It should be
the test doesn't mean anything. The test isn't good for something. What means something is that you have a Minichog diploma. That means something. If you have a Minichog diploma, that means something. I've talked to people in the community about it. Oh, you're part of Minichog? Wow, that school is great. We have kids working from us. They come in from Minichog. They are amazing, and they go on and on about it. That's what I hear.
Well, that's not what. I meant the test and the diploma is the same thing. Doesn't mean anything. To me, it's the same thing.
They're 100% not the same thing.
I'm going to step. So, Rich, I think your comments really aren't fair to our kids. The kids earn a diploma, a high school diploma, and that's a culmination of a lot of work, both from the kids and the teachers, and a large number of achievements. I don't have any problems with individual school districts defining what they think should be the criteria for a student to achieve a high school diploma. I think a high school diploma means a lot, and the students have achieved a lot when they achieve it, and the MCAS test is really completely irrelevant to all of that. I mean, original point, correct me if I'm wrong, this MCAS is really to test the school, not really the student. And that's why it's probably not going to go completely away until it's replaced by something better to test the schools. But, you know, it's not fair to be, you know, I completely, you know, would support the resolution, although I'm not sure we need to be resolving it. But, I mean, I think question 2 is going to pass overwhelmingly in the state, yes. And, but, I mean, I just really don't think it's fair to our kids to say that the diploma doesn't mean anything. The diploma means a lot. What doesn't mean anything is whether or not the student passed the MCAS. Okay? You know, because, I mean, it's a multiple choice test. Students could be brilliant, but have trouble performing on a multiple choice exam. Could have trouble working on a computer screen. Could have trouble coloring enough inside of a circle so that the stupid computer that reads it doesn't give them, you know, doesn't get confused and think that they put C when they meant B. A lot of factors go into those things. And, you know, this, my perspective also, I have to say, comes from my own experience. You know, I mean, I've taken a lot of multiple choice tests through my career, up through the ranks of medical school and surgery school, and pediatrics and all that nonsense. And I have to have a high degree of contempt for standardized multiple choice exams. You know, and also consider the huge cost that goes into these tests. Because all those questions, people have to edit them and write them and grade them and then QI them. And so there's a huge amount of money that's spent on this endeavor. And then companies sell curriculums to help guide teachers for students to think. And then we spend money on those curriculums. It's like this huge factory of just sucking money from the school district is a whole nother perspective on it. So anyway, that's my comment.
The question is whether should graduating high school mean you can read at X level or do basic math? That's the question I'm saying.
Yes,
So
it should.
It should not necessarily. Because some of these, it's so basic, some of these kids that don't pass, they can't read at a certain level, they can't do the basic math. So that's the real question you have, is they're graduating, they have the same diploma as the guy here that graduated with honors. So should the diploma just mean you attended, or should it mean that you actually can accomplish something? If I hire somebody, I want them to be able to go over a map and find Africa. I want them to be able to answer some basic math and be able to write an email to somebody. And should somebody with a high school diploma be able to do that? And that's the question. So I'm not saying that this MCAS thing does that, but the real question is, should we just say everybody sits, just like the middle school, you know, over in India, everybody gets a diploma at the end, no matter what you do. Should just showing up, doing whatever, you know, some of the basic work, but not necessarily knowing enough to, after 4 years here, to go at a basic level. I think on math, they said it was 9 out of 60 you had to get to pass, and they're raising it to like 16 out of 60. You don't know what the questions are, but it's just basic. You know, you need to have a certain knowledge of reading to be able to get a driver's license to become a citizen here. So what is the basic level? I don't mind having a low bar, but what should there be a bar?
But they do have the basic knowledge. They're in English class. They're working with the teachers. They have multiple assessments. Sometimes some of the classes, there's like a quiz every week. So, you know, I mean, I'm hearing from you that you've probably encountered some people who already have high school diplomas from the state of Massachusetts, and they didn't read or perform at a level that you would have expected them to. Well, all of them passed the MASC.
Yeah,
because it's currently a requirement. So I think it's a sign of the problem. It's not a sign that we need to, you know, continue doing the wrong thing. We need to focus on educating the kids to perform in the real world. Okay? Answering on the multiple choice test doesn't, you know, yes, there are some measures of reading comprehension that they try to build in there, but it's not as real as a teacher's impression of the student working on reading comprehension who reads so many documents that the students write during the course of their class. You know, I guess there's always the chance that somebody, people have made the comments, they want to get rid of the kids, so they just pass them through. But not everyone who enters high school is going to get a high school diploma. They need to work and they need to earn it. And our students here, they do work and they do earn it.
Here, here.
So the request is that the Hampden-Wilbraham Regional School District supports passage of question 2 to replace the MCAS graduation requirement and require instead that districts certify that students have satisfactorily completed coursework demonstrating mastery of the skills and knowledge required by the Commonwealth's strong statewide standards in order to graduate.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
The one thing I want to say, Rich, is, no, this is good. I think everyone here is on the same page, okay? We are all on the same page. And I see what Rich's desire there is that, let's do something so that when our students go out into the world, that diploma means something and stands for something more. And that is what we're here. That's why you're here. That's why everyone here is around this table, is to do things to make it so that when our students show up with a diploma from Minnechaug, the people go, whoa, we got a Minnechaug student here. Come right in. We want to talk to you. Let's do the interview and let's see how it goes. You know, that's our objective. That's our objective every day, right? So I understand what you're saying, and I understand if you vote against or for whatever. I get it. But I do want to make it clear that we are all on the same page. It's just a different way of approaching it, and I think that we can do so much better than MCAS.
I think we can too, just repeal and replace, in a sense.
Yeah.
Cheryl, what was your?
My thinking is I was talking with my husband on the way over here. He went to Catholic College in New York and Safford Regents, and took him 3 times, and he was explaining to me how he failed the first 3, and then by happenstance, I think his pen broke, and so they gave him another pen, and then he realized that he had left out a mark, a diacritical mark, that was making him fail. And so my thinking is that, unfortunately for me, MCAS made teaching much less fun. It just did. It took a lot of joy out of it. And in order to get joyful now, as a teacher and feeling that you're doing the best for your students, you have to come up with this test that will tell you that you're doing a good job or you're not. I mean, we've been looking at it as the kid doing a good job. But there's a lot of pressure on teachers, that they are not doing a good job because Joey can't get 2 + 2. They've got to, give them molded clay to make a 2 and do everything they can. So teaching has changed because of this. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know the answer to that, because that takes time. It takes time to see, do people change? Do children change in what they're learning? But the problem is that the change is changing the tests each year. We don't take the same test over and over. We add things to it, and the teacher's curriculum gets higher and higher so that they can get better and better grades transferred to the learning of those children. And I think that takes a lot of joy out of learning. I really do. That's my thought.
So I would be for getting rid of the whole MCAS, by the way, but I'm going to vote the other thing, that there should be some requirement at the end of school statewide to show that people can read or write and do basic questions and quizzes at a minimum level. So I'm not for teaching the test, believe me, I agree with you on that statement. I'm just saying that there should be something that's a statewide thing that says kids can do X, Y, and Z, and that's what the diploma means.
And I want to say, I didn't mean that teachers are just teaching to the test. I mean that the test requires teachers to change their teaching every year and get more and more and more.
So, John, a question, just to clarify. I believe the state has hundreds of requirements that need to be met for a kid to graduate from high school, right? Based on what's expected in our curriculum?
Well, the requirement is that
Beyond
students,
blind MCAS.
students have to pass MCAS and satisfy their local requirements for graduation. The local requirements for graduation are determined by the school committees.
Okay. All right, so we're not required to follow their curriculum?
Well, we have to have a curriculum that's aligned to the frameworks because the frameworks are what's tested, but that is sort of the minimum. The school committee can require whatever other requirements it wants. For example, we have a fine and performing arts requirement for all students to graduate. There's no test for that. That's above what the state is requiring because we feel that's important as a committee. And each community has the ability to say similarly what they feel is important and what a high school diploma should represent for them.
Besides the test, it's on credits. Every kid has to get a certain number of credits, which you earn in your courses. But as a teacher, you define what the passing grade is. You give your own tests and quizzes, and he gets a credit, he passes. Even if you decide that you want to get rid of him or have basic minimum requirements, it doesn't mean that he gets out and can read at this level or write at that level or do math at that level.
So I guess then you're saying it comes down to you have confidence in our teachers.
Yeah, but not all teachers. I know they're teachers, so I think the vast majority of them, 90%, 95%, I knew from my teaching career there were teachers that didn't teach anything, and that they just were not really there. They were ready for retirement or for summer vacation. Absolutely, the kids were really hurt by it. So and those kids graduated just the same as everybody else because there was no MCAS requirement at the end. Or no any
continue
requirement.
to have these conversations throughout the year. This is not just a one time
Yeah.
because we're discussing question 2.
It's
The
philosophy.
curriculum subcommittee, and that's one of our goals is to determine policies. We hear from our administration and our educators, so we can continue this. But we will move forward with the vote on the motion that was made. So all in favor?
So what's the question?
I'll read it one more time. So just the request was that the Hampton-Wilbraham Regional School District School Committee supports passage of question 2 to replace the MCAS graduation requirement and require instead that the district certify that students have satisfactorily completed coursework demonstrating mastery of the skills and knowledge required by the Commonwealth's strong statewide standards in order to graduate. So all in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed?
Aye, wait.
Oh, you're opposed, I'm sorry.
On principle.
Yep, so motion carries 4-1. Thank you. We will continue with the Assistant Superintendent for Finance Operations and Human Resources. Thank you.
Alrighty. So you have a monthly budget update. I will focus on the first item on the memo that I shared. The others are more informational. So the mold situation, I think we are close to a final tally, but that tally will be about $400,000 for that mold cleanup. You can see we've spent $290,000 on the cleanup itself, $60,000 on testing, and $50,000 in supplies, replacement, dehumidification, new ceiling tiles, and other supplies used as part of that cleanup. Knowing that those amounts were coming in, I've put that in this report. So the bottom line on that report is inclusive of that $400,000 expense. I have a call with one of the 2 insurance carriers that we're trying to work with. That is the Boiler Mechanical Insurance Company. Hopeful that they will consider an insurance claim. Our broker is not getting calls back from our property insurance company. She's working on trying to file an appeal, but they have not been returning her calls. So we're doing the best we can in that regards. I can't tell you whether we'll have an insurance claim or not, but we'll continue down both paths as much as we can. And I'll leave it at that for that. There's a little bit of buildings and grounds maintenance, a little bit of on loss of ESSER, but those are a little more self-explanatory. Overall, though, we are trending, even with the mold, roughly on par with where we were last year. We're trending reasonably to budget at this point. So I'm hopeful that we can either find an avenue for the mold or figure out a way to make it work. Right? It's money we wouldn't put back into E&D though next year and things like that. Worth noting, we did certify E&D recently. Some of you may have received emails. We certified to 1.5 million, so that was a good
What did we certify? How much? did we certify?
763,000, and we used it all for this year's budget. So this will give us a little bit more of a buffer in terms of E&D.
Back to the whole situation and that $400,000. It was something that had to be done. I'm glad we did it. The not returning calls, not getting returned calls from the insurance company, is this something that we might have to have our attorneys get in? And
We can look at that if necessary.
Because that's $400,000 that,
Well, they may just deny the claim. I mean, that would be the reality.
wasn't it initially accepted, the claim, or not?
No. They investigate, they sent out,
Right.
Someone to investigate the claim. They reviewed all the documents. We received an initial denial.
Do they think that there wasn't any mold? What's the reason for the denial? That there wasn't any mold? That we're lying? What is it?
So
we can send them some if they like.
It's hard for me to get into that in a public forum without getting into a position.
Okay, I think we might want to.
I can talk offline too.
Yeah, please, and I think we might want to look at litigation as well.
So the next item we have is the opening of 2 student activities accounts. These are 2 new clubs that have formed this year, and they will need student activities accounts to do fundraising and things like that. This is good news. We're seeing some more clubs come back to life post-COVID, right? In COVID, there was kind of a bit of a collapse in people's interest in clubs and things like that. So we're looking for student activities account for the Athletic Fuel and Nutrition Club, as well as the Asian Cultures Club. And we just need a vote approving those.
I make a motion to accept the student activities, opening of the student activities account for the Asian Cultures Club and the Athletic Fuel and Nutrition Club.
Second.
Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, it is now time for public comment. Is there anyone here that's interested in making public comment? Okay. Sure. If you could just please just speak into the microphone, make sure that your button's on, and please just state your name and your affiliation with the district.
Being Christine Dillon, 13 Scenic Drive. I'm an educator, parent, and I want to thank you tonight as a school committee for passing a resolution on my son too. Just to kind of wrap up the conversation and the background, to pick up what Mrs. Carolina expressed, is the joy of teaching has been stuffed out of every teacher in the state of Massachusetts because of the MCAS test. This little question 2 on the ballot, will hopefully make a path for joyful teaching. And when you have a joyful teacher in front of the students continue to be joyful. Education in this country and education in Massachusetts has been very, very difficult since 1998, I believe, after the Education Reform Act passed in Massachusetts. And the joy and the fun and the exploration have been whittled and almost strained. I'm hoping that in our state of Massachusetts, we will reach out for that joy again. And I appreciate Mrs. Caroline for mentioning that. But I also want to say that our high school curriculum is extremely rigorous. My 2 boys graduated from this high school, and they have continued to tell me with their peers in the workforce. One's in cybersecurity, the other is in almost like a CFO, he's only 28, in several companies, he constantly gets recruited, that his peers that he works with, he feels he is so much more well prepared in his job and in his environment. With that said, I feel you have the pulse and the opportunity to shape that high school curriculum if you need to, with expectations and forms, with the help of our superintendent, Dr. Provost, to reach those goals. Because I believe our high school curriculum, being locally controlled by our school committee, who is freely elected in our community to shape that curriculum so our students can move forward. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. And I want to appreciate your vote tonight, and thank you so much. And have a great evening.
Thank you.
Are you? Okay. Second public comment. We will move forward with the subcommittee updates. Curriculum subcommittee, they are meeting October 24th at 5:30. And that is going to be, that's a Thursday, that will be at TWB. That is where our meeting will be held that day. So Thursday, October 24th at 5:30 at TWB. We'll continue with the planning committee update. We do not have an update at this time, so we'll continue with the finance and operations subcommittee.
Aaron, do we have a consensus? We're going to meet, I believe it's next Thursday, correct? It's just going to be the school committee just to get on the same page, look at how things were last year, get ready, talk about Aaron, such like that, and then get ready to invite the towns in. But I just thought a meeting for us to get on the same page. Also, we have to, have a reorganization to it as well. Would be prudent.
Okay. What time is that meeting at?
Is it 5:30?
5:30.
5:30 on Thursday at in the conference room in the district. Yeah.
Thank you. So we do not have, Lisa's not here this evening for the PVAC collaborative representative. Nothing to report for the negotiation subcommittee, policy subcommittee.
Wait, do we have a time when we're going to meet to start rolling the ball on this?
Is it final?
Well, it's not final. He gave 2 dates. I forgot to put it in the packet. Sorry. This week gave us 2 dates.
I did see it. We can send it via email.
Okay.
And
Okay.
coordinate that.
Thank you.
Policy subcommittee.
Has not met, no updates.
Okay. So we'll continue with the MASC resolutions. Sean, your favorite.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay. So, did everyone have a chance to look these over? So,
100 pages.
yeah, right. Last year, the meeting to go over these and vote these lasted for 47 days. It felt like it 47 days, but so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So when I go, I'm representing the entire district as much as possible. All right, the first one is development of an alternative to the high-stakes MCAS test. I'm not going to go into any explanation. If anyone needs more explanation, we can try to go over it, but if you know how you want to vote, I'd like to go through these, but we can have any discussion that you want to have unless everyone already knows. Do we want to take does everyone have an opinion on this, or would we like to talk about it? All right, I'll take that as no one.
So, I mean, I'm against standardized testing. So for that reason, I would be against this, because this sounds like, let's write a new standardized test, which while I have full confidence in our teachers, I do not have full confidence in our legislature.
Exactly. Okay. All right, so that's one no. Does anyone else want to let me know?
I'd probably say yes on standardized tests.
Okay. Tim?
I agree with what's been said. Actually, I'd like to see all of it cast eliminated myself.
So is that against or no, sir? No. Okay. Cheryl?
No.
Okay. And Michelle?
I'm gonna.
Isn't this an alternative to MCAS? That means you want to get rid of MCAS to say yes, right? You want an alternative?
Yeah, we're voting on getting rid of MCAS.
Without the alternative?
Well, this is talking about also coming up with an alternative.
Yeah, coming up with an alternative, right. So right now we have,
So I'm for coming up with an alternative to MCAS,
Right.
which means we're getting rid of MCAS. and replace it with an alternative.
There is an alternative.
Right, I'm only against it because I'm in favor of getting rid of MCAS and not
And replace,
replacing
right,
it.
so there's a difference, it's a two-part question.
Right.
There is
So it
an
seems like
alternative.
the nays have it there.
There is an alternative. It's called the curriculum.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's-
Exactly, Cheryl. All right, so that would be a no. All right, the second one, to increase compulsory attendance age. That is basically just taking it, right now, if you don't want to attend school at 16 years old, you can say, that's Vidania. But if, I guess they're asking to bring it up to 18. By the way, just to make it clear, these are the resolutions that will be voted on by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees that will be presented to the legislature as being, this is something that we've all agreed on that we want to do. This is not something that's going to happen, or we're going to vote if it's going to happen. It's just to bring it to the forefront of our legislature. So,
And our vote, just to add, so our vote is basically
How I vote.
instructing Sean
Yeah.
on how he's representing our district at this.
some committees do it that when they nominate the person, that person will vote to whatever their heart's content is, and they pick it. But I find it's better to take the pulse of the committee and vote with that. So
Just going back to when you read here, I'm just make sure what you guys want. It says, be resolved that MASC urges Massachusetts to have a moratorium legally on MCAS testing, which means that's a yes on one, you guys all said no. So just, that's what's in there.
No,
Because it's a two-part question.
so question, you're talking about question 2?
The
question one, he went
question
back to
one, going back and
resolution
just make sure you guys, if you want it says right here, a yes on question one means let's have a moratorium on MCAS. And you guys said no on question one.
What doesn't simply say.
But it's part of it, so I'm just saying.
Well,
It's just created out
It's the
there.
top part, yes.
So Sean, I would be in favor of passing one with the amendment. So this session at the MASC really gets out of control because, and almost none of this stuff passes. Because by the time it gets to a vote, everything's had like 20 or 30 amendments on it. But I would be in favor of an amendment that doesn't, that does not say create a new text. Does not, they talk
I
about.
believe I have I understand the will
Yes.
of the committee, and I will represent
All right.
that will.
All right.
So back to resolution number 2 now. Yes or no to increasing from 18 from 16 the age that you can opt out of school?
Yes.
Yes?
Unless they're an emancipated minor.
Okay, I like that.
That would be, the most common would be like a 16-year-old girl that's had a baby. You become an adult if they become an adult if they've had a child, even if they're not 18.
Or independent from their,
Correct.
like your guardian,
Correct. Yeah.
even without a child.
Yeah.
What happens if they don't go to school at 17? Just the penalty.
There is no penalty.
Well, there is no penalty right now. And if this were to be enacted, there would be a penalty. But I would say that, I think when you're 18, you're an adult, and, so I'm in favor of that, but, emancipated minor is also an adult for a lot of good reasons that they should be able to get choice.
Anyone else would like to?
Cheryl,
are you pro or against this?
I'm neither.
You're neither.
Having gone to many of these, this is one that will never go anywhere. I'm neither.
just policing it's going to be.
Okay. So we have 1 yes, 1 no abstain? Rich?
I'd probably be no, but, or abstain, it's, just the policing of it all, when 17, 18-year-olds be out there chasing them around, and whatever's gonna happen, I just see that it's hard enough at 16 and 15 for some of these kids.
Tim?
I'm not sure.
Well, the noes have it. All right, number 3, resolution, safe storage of firearms. This is one that was, that we had last time, and there was all kinds of debate on that, and it was really wonderful. I would, I like how this is written a little better. I still think that it could be worded better. Does anybody have any opinion on number 4, on the safe storage of firearms?
I'm in favor of this. It is the law in Massachusetts that firearms are supposed to be locked in a safe. And, you know, I don't see why there would be, anyone would have a problem with the school district helping spread the, you know, reinforce, you know, knowledge of the laws in Massachusetts. Although anyone who owns a firearm in Massachusetts has to have passed the Massachusetts firearm course, and they do cover the laws in the course, so everyone theoretically should know what their responsibility is. But it's not bad to be reminded of your responsibilities when kids' lives are in danger.
I think that's the thing, is that the people were saying that it is not in the, it doesn't, the school committees and the school districts, it's out of their scope for them to do this. That's what the people who were saying no to it was. People who were saying yes to it was, it's education, you know, and it's the law.
I think that, yeah, the conversation was not that they were not in support of, you know, firearm safety and education. However, this, you know, it says that, you know, that we direct our superintendent and staff to create an appropriate communications to parents and so on. I think that we had determined that this is something that would be wonderful for our fire departments and, you know, police departments to also provide that education. But so.
It doesn't exclude them from talking to the police and fire departments about that. So when I mentioned that before, I wanted to make that an amendment that just have in you know, I think, didn't we come up with this? Or no, the language that, we actually came up with an amendment last time to add, right? And it was something about, I do have it now, I will look at it again, but it was something about just incorporating the police into this correspondence, instead of maybe coming from the superintendent, it would come from the superintendent and the police chief. But again, that's not what the fight is over. The fight is over, is it within is it in the jurisdiction of the school committee to even do this?
My vote is no.
Okay.
So I would point out that it's dangerously close to the stay in your lane comment that NRA made in response to petitions wanting to help to, you know, and I would say that firearm safety is everyone's lane. Yeah. But obviously, you know my vote. So
I say yes.
Okay. Tim, do you have an opinion?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Just kidding.
Trying to remember.
Was that a yes?
She would.
Thank you, yeah. All right, so that passes, yes.
You do have to pass.
The next one is
It means something. It means something.
the resolution number 4, the School Bus Stop Armed Surveillance Act and Enforcement Penalties. This was brought up last time as well. I'm trying to remember what the issue was that people had with this.
We read it yesterday. The issue, we state, I cannot believe how many millions of violations there are. This absolutely blows my mind.
Can you turn on the microphone?
Oh, it actually blows my mind how many millions of violations there are. And I just read that in the paper the other day. And the people who are against it originally, it's video surveillance, like the ACLU. They say it's surveillance, it could be used for other things. So their argument is, let's just say they caught somebody stealing something on that camera. Can't use it for that. Or they saw an illegal immigrant, that they can't use that to deport them if they were in that camera. So the argument on the other side is that, yes, they would be for the violations to catch the guy going around. But Massachusetts has a rule that you can't even do speeding tickets with cameras, like most other states you can, but not in Massachusetts.
I think what they're saying is that the way the law is right now, a police officer has to catch somebody cutting you off or doing whatever. What they're saying is, instead of the bus driver saying, hey, this is what I witnessed, this is what happened, you know, they didn't want to accept that. So they're saying, well, we have the video cameras and we can show video evidence of them, you know, committing a crime against the school bus, which holds our children. I understand why this is being brought up as a way of really to understand. Did you remember back in the day that ambulances would go, people would pull over for the ambulances? Do you remember that? And then once they started really coming down on that and enforcing that, now no one does that. Everyone pulls over to the side anymore. If you didn't, people would be dumbfounded. But there was a time when people would, fire truck or ambulance or whatever, I'm not, So I think that this is really trying to get people to understand the importance, like our future of riding these buses. And
Other states, it's automatic. The camera takes your license, you get a ticket in the mail, no human being actually processes it. And if you don't pay your ticket, your license gets revoked. And the same with speeding tickets. All that, it's just all automatic. And Massachusetts has a law against that. You just can't take pictures. I know people that have gone through a red light at the end, boom, ticket in the mail. The camera's on the light.
Exceptional tolls on the turnpike.
Yeah, exceptional tolls on the turnpike.
So, all those who say yes?
I think we actually should have it.
Okay.
The question is, the law has to be
1, 2, 3,
changed.
4. So it's 4 yeses, 1 no? Are you?
It's not because I'm against these resolutions. When you just think about when they're passing, when I think about like the funding mechanisms of this, because then it's, sorry. It's not that I'm against, a lot of these resolutions, but it's just when I think about, how is this going to be implemented? When you think then now all the school buses are likely going to have to upgrade that. So anyway, the funding mechanism for all of these things, because then it's, upgraded camera, and then for this one specifically, then it's about, law enforcement really enforcing the things that we're asking. So my vote is no.
In states that have
Not
it,
that I'm not concerned about safety.
it makes millions in profit. You have to go to the So, and the law enforcement doesn't get involved because it's all computerized and automated.
Right.
But the way this one's written, it's not mandatory for them to have the cameras in the buses. It just says that they have the ability to. So,
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I believe the way this is worded, it's not mandatory, it's not a requirement, it just says that they have the ability to. So, just like
If
everyone.
something happens that is so, not like what Rich said where it's automatic, but if something were to happen and they go back and look at it and say like, wow, this was egregious, that they would be able to pull the police in, the police could watch the tape, and that would be them, would meet the law enforcement, seeing the incident, and then they can take.
You don't think somebody going around and nothing serious happens should get a ticket?
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that what this is here is what that is. I'm just trying to say what the resolution is. So I still have 4 to 1, or, okay?
Yeah.
All right, super. The next one is aligning tax authority with the required local contribution. I've asked for clarification on this, but I think, and people who have read this, I think this has to do with Proposition 2.5, right? So basically what this is saying is that if the local minimum contribution that the towns are required to pay is more than 2.5, then they have to pay it. They can't be, it's Proposition 2.5, we can't go more than 2.5. I believe that's what this is asking. Does anyone have any opinion on this?
I believe that there is a mechanism for going above Proposition 2.5, and that's with the town deciding and voting and approving it. So I'm not sure what this is looking to accomplish.
So that wouldn't have to go through that process, I believe.
Yeah. Well, you have to go through the process. All right, so I'm no.
Okay.
I'm for more money for the schools, whatever that means, yes or no.
Okay.
No. Sorry, no. Again, the funding again, it's the sustainability of those funding increases year over year without going to town, again, there is a mechanism if we need to go over 2.5, so.
I'd like to amend them all, say that the legislature has to fully fund these things.
Here, yeah.
So would you say yes or no on that?
No.
All right, the noes have it. Resolution number 6, support of legislation to improve the financial health of rural school districts. Yeah.
Are we rural?
No, we're not. Rural is like the moon population is dwindling, and then, you know, they are getting hit with, you know, the expense, their tax base isn't like what our tax base is here. So, I mean, I understand that. I do want to say that at these, and I've been doing this now for, Jesus, is it the whole time? Is it like 8 years or something like that? Where I do find that the municipal school districts come up against the regional school districts and, oh, no, well, you shouldn't get free transportation, we should have free transportation, or no one should have free transportation, which is, okay.
Yeah, that's coming.
That's coming up, right? But it seems like that these three groups, the rural districts, the municipal districts, the regional districts, they're not like together as a cohesive group to like better education. It doesn't mean just because we made a motion last year for, I believe a resolution that we put in here was to just like have the state pay 100% of what they promised us to pay. People were coming up there saying that we don't have it as a municipal school district, so I vote no. And it was like, I was surprised. I was blown away by the amount of people that were against this just because they did not have this in their contracts. They felt it was, well, you shouldn't have that. So maybe it was just me that I did not defend it well enough. I thought I was doing a decent job, obviously not. But this year is something which is sponsored by Deerfield, Sunderland, Watley, and the Frontier Regional School Committees. So it's just, they're just getting battered. And I frankly, I don't know, John or Aaron, if you have anything to say about this, but I think that we should support it.
They should fully regionalize. So they're set up as four individual elementary districts under a regional middle high school. And the answer that Desi has given them every time, I mean, this is the same, I came from Hampshire Regional, which is the same thing, right? And the answer that Desi always gives them is fully regionalized. So they're doing 5 end-of-year reports, they're doing multiple, 5 separate Title I grants, 5 separate everything, right? Really good way to pull it all together is just fully regional. So I have some empathy for rural schools too. I grew up in the hill towns, but I also think that biting the bullet and fully regionalizing is probably the right thing for some of these districts.
All right. Do we have any yes or no's here? Michelle, anyone know?
No, John's just gonna, he's gonna.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, John.
I would just say that I think that this isn't exactly to your point, but the problem is that different types of schools have different interests and they don't align on things, and that's what prevents us from having effective advocacy.
Yeah.
That's why we have 211 districts in our state right now that are minimum aid districts. So, I would say my thought would be look within these resolutions for ones that everyone can get behind and have an impact. And I think number 7, which is the next one coming up, is one that would benefit everyone. So that's my feeling.
So is this a no from everybody?
I was going to be a yes, but apparently makes me go no.
I agree. No. Now I know.
Yeah, they should regionalize.
I'm a no.
Sure.
I like 7.
Okay. So this will be, all right. Number 7 is the fully adjusted Chapter 70 aid for inflation. Yeah, we all know what this is. I think what it is saying here. Realized inflation is above 4.5 annual inflation cap. In subsequent years, inflation index catch-ups are made to Chapter 78, and that realized inflation is used in the formulas to calculate Chapter 78 in perpetuity. I think we're all in favor of this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes. See?
All right. Resolution number 8 8, equitable funding for non-regional school districts with high transportation costs. Wow. I wonder if this was in reply to ours from last time. You can tell me how you want to vote. I'm voting no on this. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just, after what they did to me last year, no. I'll get up and sing to the high hills. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, no, yeah, but no.
All right, resolution number 9, MSBA grants valuation for Chapter 74. Basically, is that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees calls for the Massachusetts Legislative MSBA to create an evaluated tier system to separately assess the cost of elementary, comprehensive high schools, and vocational, technical, and agricultural schools, resulting to true cost reimbursement for each school category. I'm not sure what the problem is here that they're trying to fix. John, Aaron, do you have anything that? It just seems like what's the problem?
I mean, I'd like to
Chapter
see them give
74.
more money to vocational and technical.
Yeah.
But the way this is worded, when I read it, it sounds like they want to take money from college prep education, for lack of to then shunt more money to vocational technical. Can only presume because those educational programming is more expensive.
Yeah, a lot of these resolutions, even in the past years, are like rob Peter to pay Paul. And I just never understood why that is something that someone would do. It doesn't mean we have to take anything away from your transportation budget to have the promise made to regional school districts of 100% transportation for that to be met. And I also think that we should have transportation, for non-regional schools as well, but not doing one without doing the other. I mean, let's keep our promises first, and then we can make more promises later. But right now, we're not keeping the original promise we made to regional school districts. So if we say yes to this and they pass it, they don't have to do that either, because they're not doing it for us. So it wasn't a vendetta that I would personally say no for number 8. That wasn't what I was trying to say. I was just trying to say that was my logic. Let's keep the promises we already made before we make promises to other people. And the same with this one here.
Number 10.
Well, I mean, 10 is a better way, right? I think both 9 and 10 are looking to get more funding for vocational and technical education.
Yeah.
But 9 will likely rob from college prep education, whereas 10 will compel the state to invest more.
Right.
And particularly help school districts where their students don't have access to vocational technical.
Exactly.
They put that specifically in there to help develop those programs. So I'm in favor.
Is everyone in favor of no on 9, yes on 10? Yep. Michelle, you good?
It'll pass.
Gotcha.
It will pass. The will committee is.
And then I don't think we have to do anything on the expiring resolutions. I think those are just down there just to let you know that these are the resolutions that have been approved. They have brought it to the legislature. The legislature has not actioned them. So rather than just keep them on the books, we're trying to clear the books. That if after, is it 3 years, I believe? When the resolution has been accepted, we have 3 years to action it. If not, then it comes off and someone can then again decide to put it back on again. But a lot of these resolutions, which I think there's some really good ones in here that we could all stand behind. But they just, the legislature has done nothing to them.
Does the legislature ever do something on the resolution?
There have been songs sung in the hills about a time when maybe that was done. No, it does. It does mean something. It does weigh. When all the school committees come and agree on something, they understand it's important. But the legislature, if people call and voice your concerns, and they get a lot of calls. We have 10,000 voters in Wilbraham and 6,000, 8,000 Hamden, something like that. So if everyone were to call, you know, your local representative or the governor's office or whatever and scream, what, they're gonna listen. You know, and that's what we're trying to make these, resolutions, you know, from the people as much as possible. But, you know, any resolution that I had said today that you agree with, please call your local representative and tell them this is something I believe in strongly. All right?
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Oh, I thank you.
We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
But those things that have been around for 3 years and the legislature has either ignored them or hasn't taken action, I would like the Mass Association of School Committees to send that list to the leadership in the House and the Senate and say you are not doing your part to support the students in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
You will be able to share that at the MASC conference while you were there. You'll be able to meet somebody. What?
He's not going to be able to.
Unfortunately, I can't.
Okay, my apologies. Anyway.
His wife's mother and my mother passed within a couple of days of each other, and their ceremony, because they're all over, is going to be at that time.
Yeah.
All right.
GIA kids and they're all over the country.
Okay. Next year.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Questions or concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Future agenda items? Anything else to add? Anybody? There are certain things that are always kind of standing agenda items, so this is outside of those items. Transportation is one of them, that's an ongoing item for our meeting. If you think of anything, let me know. We do have the need for executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, C Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Read Osborne contract adjustments, Provost contract renewal, and Lamika contract guidance. Executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, C Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to conduct negotiations with the HWEA. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position on the public body, and the chair so declares. HWEA demand to bargain successor contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we will do roll call. We will be adjourning from executive session, so we will not be reconvening. Our next meeting is Thursday, October 24th at 6:30, and that will be in the library at TWB. So we will do roll call vote, and we will move to executive session with a 5-minute break. So we will begin with Cheryl.
To go, Ms.
Tim?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And myself? Yes. We are now adjourned from regular session. Thank you.
Warrants, I need warrants signed.